Hello and welcome to a new style of video where we are giving collectors a unique insight into what goes into designing coins. This time I'm joined by Andy Walker, the designer of the Charles Dickens £2 coins. Now Andy, I have so many questions to ask, but I guess the main one for me is that as an artist, I guess you're used to painting on canvas. So how does it differ, having to design something for a coin, which is of course a much smaller surface? Is that quite a difficult challenge?
Yes, I would say it is actually, because I'm always bearing in mind the engraver, because obviously that's all they've got, isn't it? They're referring to that. So every line's got to count. There's no point putting in something that doesn't describe anything, and there's got to be, as you say, it's so small, so you've got to be mindful of that it doesn't look too cluttered, and there's got to be a simplicity and a clearness about the lines. So whereas obviously with a painting on a big canvas, you can be quite, I mean, composition is still important, but you can be much freer. But it's a really good challenge.
And it's a challenge you definitely stepped up to. So right now, I think it's time we discuss the 5 designs on these £2 coins, starting with Great Expectations. So talk me through it.
Yeah, it was good because you've got the graveyard scene and it's sort of kind of bleakly romantic, and this pit staring right at us, you know, which kind of grabs the viewer straight away. You know, if you've got a face looking out at you, you connect with the eyes and everything. So yeah, that's a really nice one. It's one of my favourite novels of his as well.
I can see why. And next up, the absolute classic, Oliver Twist.
Yeah, I mean, originally it was going to be Oliver and Mr. Bumble in the workhouse. So it was a kind of dual scene where the two characters are interacting. But I think later on we kind of whittled it down to just being Oliver with his food bowl. You know, that's that classic moment, isn't it? The police are kind of have some more. You know, it's very plaintive. And a little snippet of the workhouse behind, just a hint of the, you know, the walls and things, you know. So yeah, I think that works quite well.
And how about my favourite of Dickens novels? So David Copperfield.
Yeah, well, that's one where we did keep the dual interaction. It was quite nice to have 2 figures, you know, on the coin, even though it's a very small space. You know, there's still room for that kind of interaction. And yeah, that's very, very loosely based on there's the W.C. Fields version of Mr. Micawber, you know, which is quite iconic, but it's very loosely, you know, but with the London street as well. Yeah, it's just nice to have that interaction with the 2 characters there. So yeah, I was pleased with that one.
I'm sure a few people watching now reread or rewatch an adaptation of this over Christmas. So of course it's A Christmas Carol.
I mean, that one originally, that was Scrooge with the candle holder, you know, and he's just kind of looking back with that kind of humbug expression, you know, that real mean. But I think there was a rethink, and the idea was to have him throwing the windows open on a Christmas morning, you know, when he's had his epiphany and he's become a better person and he's embracing Christmas and the world and everybody that he's kind of shunned.
And finally, the main man himself, Charles Dickens. So when it came to choosing a portrait for this, how did you decide?
Obviously, there's lots of images of throughout his age, and I think, I don't know about you, but I've got an image in my head about what Charles Dickens looks like, you know. So yeah, I looked for a portrait that hopefully we all recognise as sort of iconic Dickens.
Now, each coin has a quote around the edge, which is of course iconic from the novels. Do you have a favourite coin?
Very close, but I think Great Expectations, because I think it's just really simple. And like I said, you've got that connection with the character, he's looking out, and you've got that, just that graveyard setting, you know. But I think it epitomises the story really, and it's great to see them in the colour versions as well, you know, because I think the characters spring out there.
And how about as novels? Do you have a favourite?
Yeah, it's A Christmas Carol, definitely. Yeah, you know, it's quite head to put, you know, because it's just a fabulous ghost story, isn't it? And you know, just all the imagery within it, and the character goes on a journey, you know, and it's almost like a gothic horror in places, you know. You've got Marley's ghost, this face appearing on the door knocker, those huge chains, and he actually, his jaw is tied up with a bandage, isn't it? You know, and he kind of releases it, and his jaw just falls off its hinges, really. You know, it's quite So it's got terrifying, really, but it's a great story, you know.
And finally, what is it about Dickens' stories that you think is still so captivating for readers to this day?
I think he was such a brilliant social commentator, you know, like he had a real empathy for kind of the underprivileged in society and at all levels of society, really, you know. And I think, you know, we can all relate to that. I mean, just the fact that we have the term Dickensian, you know, that just shows what an influence, you know, across the years. And I think it's his characters too, you know. I mean, they're absolutely brilliant, you know. And we can, even just their names, you know. So you've got Fagin, Tiny Tim, Mr. Quilp and Scrooge, you know. I mean, you just know so much about the characters just with the names, you know. They're kind of onomatopoeic almost.
For sure. Now, thanks for joining me today, Andy. And for anyone watching right now who would like to add these coins to their collection, you can do just that by heading over to the link on screen now. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all next time.